It's a thing. Yes, so it's being curious and open-minded. So it's a thing that when you start to do the business, sometimes you just get bogged down into the details of executing, and you forget that the reason you actually discovered the idea was that you were open-minded and curious. So that for me will be tool number one. Never, ever, ever lose that. There's something around the Bible where it points out how the kingdom of God is like it's for those that are childlike, and I believe that the reference that was being made in that context was the willingness to keep your mind open and be curious about things. But also that tool is necessary to allow you to allow uptake of the technological tools that we will discuss later. Because if you're closed off, generally speaking, you may become one of the late adopters of tech tools. I know that, for example, there's people who fought ChatGPT when it first came out, and until they realized how far ahead other people were going as a result of utilizing it. Then the second tool is adaptability. The thing about being adaptable, again, that muscle, is that you do this thing, you have the ability to not fall in love with this singular way of solving a problem. And recognizing that maybe if the environment changes, there's particular aspects around my approach that need to change. Let's say, for example, there were so many companies pre-COVID that just never delivered. They were like, we cannot put our food through that process. We cannot allow that. It kind of degrades the quality of our food and the experience we offer. But that's because they were still locked in people coming into the environment, which they have built, which is already very impressive and whatnot. And then taking up that environment, and then the food. So the environment sort of complements the food. But now there was a new situation. Some people refused to adapt for a long time, and this is also a tool that is like curiosity. Is very easy to forget when you stay long in a particular space. You can say, I know how to do this. I've wrote this thing this way for the longest time. It has functioned. Yeah, we are not changing. Yeah. And then the third tool, now this one is much more easy to abuse. So please remember that the first two tools are easy to forget, but this one is very easy to abuse. That emotional tool is called confidence. The thing around confidence is that it gives you the ability to act on on the ideas that your curiosity has generated. And if you don't have the confidence, and again, it's a muscle, it's a tool that as you use it, you get much, much better at it. You get much, much better at making very quick decisions around ideas that have floated your way. And you also, because you're adaptable, you are also able to move as a result and make sure that you deliver the things you need to deliver, meet the client needs that you need to meet, deliver the project on time, actually even compete for the project in instances where you have to bid for the project, etc, etc. So those particular three emotional tools are very useful in ensuring that, and the thing about these tools is that it doesn't matter whether you're in finance, so blockchain, financial software, you're building a fintech, etc, etc, or you're in healthcare, you're doing something in telemedicine, you're collecting health data and analyzing it and giving it to your clients, etc, or you're in marketing, you're doing a bit of social media, you're creating concepts, etc. The thing about these particular tools is that they cut across all industries, irrespective. However, again, just to emphasize that the first two, which is curiosity and being open-minded, and then adaptability, are very easy to forget when your thing kind of catches on. And then confidence is also very easy to abuse when your thing catches on. So So those are the opportunities, but also the thing to be aware of. How much time do I have left so that I know how to go through the actual tech tools I use?
10 to 15 minutes.
Sorry?
You have about 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you. At this point, do we have any? Oh, we get the questions at the end. I will move into the tools that I use. So I have personally built a workflow system that allows me to move. Excuse me. Sorry. I was saying I have built a workflow or a set of tools, and I'm going to mention them and what each of them does for the work that I do. Please remember that the work I do has heavy aspects of concept development, then sales. So that is acquisition of people who are going to then utilize the concept for their business and then communicating those concepts. So I mainly work in three areas. So developing the concept, finding the people for whom this concept makes sense, and then communicating this concept to them. So this is my workflow process. So usually when I am tasked with a challenge, for example, on the 25th, I believe, of this month is World Refugee Day. On World Refugee Day, if I am tasked with creating an idea, creating a concept that will utilize media to communicate the efforts of refugees. Now we could just say go and record them and then put their stories on air. Good stuff. Let's move on. Or we could and try and get people to sort of talk about well, in an inspired manner to talk about what their life is as a refugee. That may not always work. Actually, that's one of the reasons why, for example, social media has become that tool that most people default to when they need to consume any kind of information. So where I start is I have a conversation with one of my partners called Gemini. I'm sure you guys know of that. Is ChatGPT's version, but from the Google guys, formerly Bard. I find Gemini to be very intuitive. I find Gemini to also be a bit annoying sometimes. They pretend not to know something. I think the tech world has an interesting term for it. They pretend not to know something until you push the button and get them to actually do that. So what idea am I working with? I need to develop a concept that communicates the following things about being a refugee in Uganda. I needed to incorporate what our policies are as a country. I needed to incorporate the data, the information on the numbers, the people who exist within the country and what they have, why they exist in the country. I need it to be persuasive, but I also need it to be fair to the people that we are representing. How do we make something like that happen? So I think we all know here that since the initiation of the AI movement, there've been a higher demand for prompt engineers. So that's people who can very carefully speak to all these large language models and get them to do what is needed. So yes, so move out of Gemini, I get whatever output I get out of there, I extract and spend some time reading on it. So the beauty of it is that it will mention some people, it will mention some locations. My next step after that is to study whether that is actually accurate. So that's actually the longer bit of the conversation. Study whether that's actually accurate, and then rewrite it in a manner that makes sense if I were a human being. But I also go to the guy who came by first, so that's ChatGPT. And with ChatGPT, I am very brutal. So it's not a conversation because I feel that the experience I have with ChatGPT is almost mechanical. So even my conversation with ChatGPT is often going to come off as mechanical. I need X, Y, and Z. This is what I want. Do not deviate from this. Don't do X, Y, and Z, etc., etc. Then whatever I get as well, I move back into Gemini and ask Gemini, how can you make this better? But at the same time, I also get what I had revised from Gemini and put into ChatGPT and ask, how can this be better? By the end of those two comparisons, I usually have a fairly good write-up, which I usually about 6 pages, but I spend some time bringing it down to about a page. And because I learned a tool when writing, and the thing is, when writing, the less words you have, the better. And that's a tool that I then moved into when move with when developing concepts. So having generated this particular set of ideas, put it in a one-pager in a manner that makes sense, I then move on to the third tool, which is Gamma. So Gamma is very good for generating or breaking down the pages that you've worked with into presentation, because remember, I have to move this information to a client for them to either decide whether they would like to participate and therefore raise resources, or they are okay and they don't want to. And the oldest tool we have when it comes to communicating as human beings is pictures. It's not even sound, it's not language, it's pictures. Because when you look at the Nero rock paintings, for example, or any version of rock paintings across the world, the reason they exist, and while we don't have the language of the people who are there then, but we still have the rock paintings, it's because it's one of the oldest, most permanent ways of communicating. So communicating visually is like a critical thing in my line of work. So I move this into Gamma to sort of break it down into bite-sized pieces that I can then put into a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to have a conversation with our clients. I will go ahead and do its thing. I do a breakdown in the cards. For those of you who use Gamma, you understand that it will pick an idea and it can either add more English to it or not. I don't like the adding more English to it. I want to, because by the time I come into it, I have written it, I have compressed it from 6 pages that a Gemini and ChatGPT had generated into one singular page. And so within Gemini, I make sure that the instructions I give it, again, getting better at prompt engineering, I feel has allowed me to be a much more effective worker. So all of this work would usually take me a week, but I can definitely do it within 6 hours. That's if I haven't anything else, if I have a couple of other things interrupting me, but without any interruption, an hour and a half, 2 hours is good. So within Gemini, break it down into the slides, the number of slides I want to present the idea in. And the thing is, I have a personal target of never going past 11 slides. I feel like aside, there's 11 slides of an idea. There's slides that talk about your achievement as a company or as an entity or as an individual, where you need to sort of build trust before you bring the idea. Those I tend to leave in, but the idea itself, I don't feel needs to expand past 10 slides. So that's what I tell Gemini. So 3 tools so far. ChatGPT, Gamma, and Gemini. So currently we are in Gamma. Develop and get it out of Gamma. Usually when Gamma develops and I do the download, it has really poor pictures. The images are not, they're not, they don't speak. They are so generic. They are meh. And again, I said that imagery is critical, and that is why rock paintings exist, for example. So what I do next is my fourth tool is, all of these tools are online. At the moment, you're not using anything on your machine, by the way, maybe aside from PowerPoint. But all the things that you're using, I can do this on my phone or I could do it on my laptop. Then I moved this to Canva. Canva has a really beautiful presentation tool, templates that you can work with, etc., etc. So I moved this to Canva and incorporate the beautiful imagery and the moving pieces that I am looking to utilize. Once I am satisfied, again, with these 10 slides that I put down in Canva, I do the export. So in my line of work at that point, English starts. The technology stops and English starts because now the relationships and the language that one needs to use to get the clients on board and sort of consume the product begins. So I often felt like the tools that I know how to use the most are those that end at the just before the English starts. So in a nutshell, those are the 4 that I can highlight. I'm sure, and I thought that I would highlight the most obvious tools so that we find them easily. But also I thought that I would highlight how I process through each of those tools. And hopefully someone can try it out and see what it does for them. Yeah, and I'm also speaking about this from a communications angle, the development of the communication product. So if anyone else is in that space, this is how it would apply to them. I will end my submission there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eugene. I think those were very specific insights on some of the tools that are available and how people in the workplace can use them. I look forward to the engagement regarding the same after Colin's presentation. Otherwise, thank you so much. That has been very good. So our next facilitator is already on the call as well. Collins Bolachalo, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Natasha. Hi, everyone. Just checking if you can hear me clearly. And
Yes,
if you're
we can
also
hear you
able to see me. All
Yes,
right,
please.
awesome. Great. So my name is Collins Mbolachalo. I've introduced by Natasha. I'm a founder and software engineer. So a lot of the tools that maybe going to be shared might be slightly technical, but some of them are also just going to be a supplement to what Eugene already shared, which was pretty amazing. And I love how Eugene started this by not only just talking about the technical or the tech tools to covering more of like the personal stuff, the emotional side of things, which I think is a great precursor for what we're then going to be talking about. For context, my background has been primarily working as a software engineer. And that means that on a day-to-day, I am working with thousands of tools or like a bunch of tools throughout my life. And I usually recommend a tool to people based on like a specific need, whether it's work related, whether it's employment related, whether it's just very specific to something that you want to get done. And I've been lucky to find these tools helpful to me. So I think I'll first start by sharing a couple of sources for these tools that I've then gone ahead to use and find. One of them is a platform or a newsletter called the Rundown.ai. Now, this newsletter basically just shares the latest AI tools I think it's a daily newsletter. Every AI tool that comes out each and every day will be shared via this newsletter, right? So if you want to keep up to date, if you want to be tinkering around and learning about all these new tools that are coming out, then yeah, checking out this newsletter, subscribing, checking out their page. They also have a very specific section where they just focus on the tools, right? And let me just show you this real quick. Okay, I'll need to share animations to be able to do this. Let me just show you real quick what that looks like. So once you go to their website, you're also able to just find, give me a second, let me know if you can see my screen. You're also able to like just go on AI tools and then run through a multitude of different tools that can be used, from writing to marketing to video. But the focus on these is that they're very AI heavy or they're very AI related, right? But still, you'll be able to find a bunch of them for your multiple use cases. Sometimes you can even just type out what you want and then you'll be able to find the tool. So this is my go-to for like new tools and discovery. And it's been very helpful over the past couple of years. But when it comes to the standard tools or what tools am I using on a daily, that's where it becomes a bit different, right? So to me, there are a couple of tools that we might not think are tools, but have been very helpful for me throughout my career. And that's the email and the calendar. Like I'd say on a day-to-day, those are the two tools I use the most. And it's a key differentiator between success and like basically not moving as fast. Why those two and why the email and calendar? I think I'll just start with one, they're connected to each other because a lot of the times you have meetings, a lot of the time you have schedules, you have things that are working close to each other. So you sort of have to schedule them in and make sure that they're well aligned, right? For me, the email is the one place that I'm not only reaching out and communicating with either customers, potential clients, but it's also the one place where I get to organize and find information that maybe I was looking for previously, right? So let's say you're applying for a job, you're going to need to write or send an email. If let's say you're bidding or you're trying to get a contract as a company, you're going to need to send an email and engage with this client. Now, how you do that or how you send that email is going to be a key differentiator. And for me, coming back to what tools I use hand in hand, and I love that Eugene talked about Gemini. When it comes to my personal email, I sort of have the new Gemini update, which involves Gemini being able to help you write and curate those emails. And I'm just going to show you that briefly and what that looks like. So let me just pull this up real quick. So what I did is that Google has this package where they basically give you the opportunity to pay for Google One. And yes, you sort of have to pay for this extra part. But with Google One, you then get access to tools that are part of their AI suite, right? So for example, if I was to come here and try and write an email, let me just maximize this. So I'll just send this to my work email, and then I'll come here to the help me write section, right? So it's very important to always make sure that emails are written, right? So I'll just say, I need to thank Akash for the invite to the Essential Career Tools session. Thank you for hosting and running such events. Also thank the other panelists, right? So I know sometimes it's hard for us to come up with these emails. It's hard for us to think of the right words to say. And sometimes you could just go and directly type this in ChatGPT and then come back and paste. But I just love the convenience of being able to do something within one platform, right? So for me, the convenience of being able to pay like $9, which is around 25,000 a month, to be able to access these conveniently without having to switch makes sense for me. If that doesn't make sense for you, then usually you can just do the manual way of going in either Gemini or going in ChatGPT, type the same exact prompt, and then get that and paste it in, right? So once I do that, it's able to pretty much curate and come up with something for me. And as you can see, it writes it out. If I feel like I could make it better, maybe make it more elaborate, ask it to be more elaborate, and it pretty much does the same. And there we go. My email is ready to write. So all I need to do is insert this and then remove this since I already have my email signature there. And then the email is ready to go, right? So for me, those are some of like the small bits and tools that I would recommend. Right after the email, the next thing I'm going to recommend is the calendar. And to me, like this is the part where things get very, very important, because without a calendar, my day can usually get pretty chaotic. So I try to organize things as much as possible. And as you can see, even when I'm going out for soccer, even when I have anything else that's pretty much happening, I try to add it to the calendar, because this helps me keep organized and manage my day to day and things that I'm doing. So in this regard, it's one of the best ways to keep up to date and make sure that you're not overrunning through things, which is, as you can notice, I have 7 minutes to the next meeting, which I'm supposed to be in. But I've already informed these people that I'm going to be slightly late. But this is part of what helps me in a day-to-day organize what I'm going to do, who I'm going to be with, what time am I allocating to what, and sometimes even going ahead, allocate that. Like, for example, this time in the morning, I've allocated these specific times for me to wake up and get some work done. So it's important that you also find out setting up focus times for yourself to be able to work beyond just the meetings that are happening. So the calendar isn't just about meetings. It's also for you to be able to organize and keep yourself in one place, right? So this is the second tool that I then want to talk about. Then the other one that I want to talk about is Google or Chrome as a tool or as a browser, right? For those of you who are maybe, if let's say you're a freelancer and you have multiple roles or multiple jobs that you're running, or if let's say even you have one job and you have your own email. Usually what I then do is I organize my Chrome in different tabs, right? In different profiles, so that when I'm working on something specifically, I just switch to that specific tab. When I'm working on Wapi Work, my Chrome is only tailored and custom set to work on Wapi Works, right? So all the emails, all the tabs and everything is Wapi. When I'm working on something personal, in this case, I'll just come and say, switch to my personal tab, right? So this is my personal Chrome profile. So everything that is within this specific Chrome window or within this specific Chrome profile is personal work. Anything that is related to Wapi is in the Wapi space. Anything that is related to any other workplace is in the Wapi Chrome profile. So this again helps you organize and make sure that you're not having spillovers or that you're not having work carried into other different sections, such that if you're also allocating specific time to work on something, you're in that profile, you're within that window, and that's all you're working on at that time. So this is an extra tip beyond just using Chrome as a browser, but you can also use it to help you organize. And I've seen other browsers have the same, Opera has the same, Microsoft Edge has the same. I think Safari also now has the same. So these very small things that just pretty much help make your work and life much easier, a part of what I then get to use. Then the other tool that I'm going to talk about, and this is now more for people who are looking for work, is LinkedIn. Your LinkedIn profile is pretty much your gateway to opportunity, right? And this can be, are you looking for a new job? Are you looking to advance and grow into another area? Is your LinkedIn profile up to date? Did you get hired? Does it have like the latest information? Does it have accurate information? What's in your description? What's in your title? Are you using a professional image? These are all the things that you need to consider, because in the day-to-day work that we're looking for, most employers are going to ask you for your LinkedIn profile when they're coming to hire you. And if an employer comes to your LinkedIn profile and there is no information that gives them clarification in the fact that you're able to take on a task they've given you, then they're most likely just going to pass on you. Because when you're applying for different jobs, when you're sending out your resume, trust me, the one thing that people are always going to come to do is, okay, let me first check out this person's LinkedIn profile. Okay, they did this and that last year. They were a website administrator. Oh, they have more experience. Let's see what these other experiences are. Okay, software engineer, fellow software engineer, founding software engineer. So all this information is what an employer is going to look at when they're trying to hire you. People rarely focus on resumes these days. And in most cases, someone will sometimes just tell you, just send me your LinkedIn profile. And that alone is what's either going to get you a job or not get you a job. So my recommendation here is that turn your LinkedIn into your Twitter. If you're very, very active on Twitter, do the same on LinkedIn. Go around, post, engage in conversations, engage with people, talk about what you're doing, like share about your craft, right? If you're an artist, talk about a recent art piece you did. If you're a writer, talk about a recent story we wrote, and all these other things that you might be doing. Because that way, then you're putting yourself out there, you're letting people know about what you're doing, and you're positioning yourself in a way that you're able to attract opportunities rather than looking out for them, right? So the more you do that, the more you have people reaching out for you. And that's why in my case, I constantly have people like reaching out to my DM, hi, there's this, hi, there's that. It's because my LinkedIn has sort of created that brand for me where opportunities then come towards me rather than me having to gravitate and look for those opportunities. Then beyond LinkedIn, and I'm sorry I'm running through these very fast, but we're at time. One of the other tools that I love to use is Airtable, which is sort of like a spreadsheet, but more of like a very organized spreadsheet. So I use Airtable for the smallest of things. I use it for creating organized tables for keeping data, right? For different projects that I might be working on. And if you're out there and you want to like register people, you want to see who has registered, you want to keep track of who's doing what, you want to run an event, you want to run user feedback, I'd say Airtable is an amazing place to collect that information and to reference and have that collected. And the good thing is that it's free. There is a paid version, of course, but the free version pretty much does everything that you would want and need to do. Then beyond Airtable, one of the other tools that I use, and this one I'm going to be very careful while sharing because it's more of like a financial related tool. But I'll first start with the most basic, right? So apart from the fact that I have all these other tools that are very complicated, AI and whatnot, I use one of the simplest tools in the world to like manage my finances. Now I'll just show you a sample of like a random budget. So I use Google Spreadsheets to run a personal budget month to month, right? And these are just random numbers and random figures put here. But pretty much every month I come in here and I'm setting up a budget, setting up how much I'm going to spend within that month, how much I anticipate to earn, how much is going to tithe, how much is going to like my daily cell phone usage, am I paying for airtime, am I paying for all these things? Entertainment, maybe I'm paying for Netflix, or this month I didn't pay for Netflix, or maybe I want to go for a movie. Like I pretty much budget for everything, like even personal care. Am I going to buy shoes, sneakers, or pants that month? Who am I paying back? All these other things, right? So this simple spreadsheet right here is what I just basically use to keep my life in check and make sure that I'm either reducing on my debts or not running over how much I'm spending on a daily. And then beyond that, another tool that I want to recommend is like something that I found pretty helpful for like just growing your personal finances, right? And it's called Zeno. So Zeno is like this cool platform where you can just invest like 500 or small money. You don't need to put a lot, but this money will then keep compounding, keep growing. Like what the platform does is that it helps you invest in different things. You don't need to be you don't need to be an expert at investing, but you just need to be able to consistently put in money somewhere, right? So with Zeno, you have experts who are good at investing that are constantly then putting this money in different areas, but at the same time, you're able to monitor and constantly see how your money is going. So beyond just the normal tools that we're using for improving our daily lives, I thought I'd maybe just share this tool for financial, for like making your finances better. If you're not great at saving, like I'm not great at saving, yeah, just put in a recurring 500 or 1,000 shillings every day that goes into Zeno. And it's able to automatically deduct that from your account and then automatically keep investing that. Other examples of this is that those who have Standard Chartered accounts, there is the My Shillingi account, which pretty much does the same exact thing. But as I've said, take this with a grain of salt, as I am not a finance professional, but this is just pretty much a recommendation that I think is pretty helpful in the general life. And that's about it. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Collins. I like how you've really broken down the tools to like general everyday life as we work, both preparing to get into the workplace, but also career planning and development now, like in the area of finance. I think that's really, really helpful because also sometimes when people talk about tech tools, what comes to our mind is, like, I don't know, code or AI, like complex things. But what our facilitators today have shown us is that these are just actually support tools that can help to make our life easier as we work, as we earn, and also as we try to be productive in the workplace. So thank you so much for the knowledgeable insight. We're now ready for our Q&A session. So dear participants, please get ready to bring up all the questions. This has been a very insightful facilitation. So I'm pretty sure we have a lot of things that would like to engage on. So you can raise your hand. We request for speaking access. We will send you a request to unmute your mic, and then you can speak, or you can use the chat, whichever works for you. Let's try to make the best use out of this. So as I wait to see the hands up, I'll go first. So based on what our facilitators have shown us today, I think what I've picked is that these tools are mostly support, yeah? The work we do and how we engage with our work is the primary, like the tasks and what we intend to get out of the tasks is the primary goal. But for us to be able to do that in a more effective way, these are tools that can support us to be able to execute that. However, we faced a challenge in workplaces, which I would refer to maybe as over-reliance, where some people might, have a risk of leaning too heavily on, for example, AI, and this might diminish, their critical thinking skills, especially where they need to make complex decisions in certain, tasks. Or so I'd like to, pick the mind of our facilitators on that issue. As people who have experience with tech tools, who have engaged them, for people that are involved in roles that require, critical thinking and complex decisions, what would be your take on that? As in, like, at what point do you draw the line between this is supposed to support me, or like right now I'm over relying? What's your take on that? This can be to both you, Collins, and Eugene. Would like to pick your mind on that.
Yeah. I think it would be interesting to hear Eugene's perspective on this one, given he's in the creative space. But I think for me, it's the balance between efficiency and complacency. And maybe okay, those are just complicated words, but it's a balance between, is this making me faster, or is this making me better, or is this slowing me down and making me sort of very stagnant, very slow, very ineffective. And how I usually find that is that sometimes, like Eugene already said, these tools pretty much can need to be prompted to give you the right information. So in most cases, if you're just coming and you're like, in my case as a software engineer, if I came and I said, I need code that enables people to sign up. Like that's a very open statement. However, if I came and I said, I need code that enables people to sign up and validates that their email is a correct email, then in that case, it's able to give me what I need and I'm able to get out of there fast. But in the latter case, where you've just open-endedly asked this question, one, you're not being direct about what you want, but you're also just being very complacent in the fact that you're just asking a lazy question. If I'm being honest, you're just asking a lazy question. So in that case, you get a lazy answer. So in such cases where people just want AI to do everything for them and they're not taking the extra step to prod and prompt, then I think that's where it becomes useless, because you're not only just wasting your time, but you're also just, I don't know, but you're wasting the tool's time because you're telling it to do something that doesn't make sense for it. Yeah, that's how I'd like to think of it.
All right, thank you very much, Eugene.
I think Eugene dropped.
Oh, cool. In that case, as we wait for him to get back, participants, do you have any questions? Please feel free to put your hand up or leave your question on the chat, and we will be able to send it right through to the facilitators. links if you would like to add to what the facilitators have shared. That's also okay. If you have another insight that you think we should know in regards to tech tools as a career essential, please let us know.
Mic check. Natasha, you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Okay, someone is saying in the chat, they request Collins to share links of the tools he recommended. I think there was a link of a website he shared earlier, but yeah, he will definitely put some more as well. Then Jonah Okot is asking, in regards to the AI tools, how do you manage the risks around privacy when using such tools?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think one, you need to make sure that you're very aware of the privacy policy for the tools that you're using. I'd say if that's something that's very important to you, you need to do that. Run through the privacy policy of this platform. That will always give you information on how exactly your data is being used. The other thing is that just try to make sure that you're not sharing very sensitive information. For example, in the workplace, personally identifiable information is usually an non-starter. But at the end of the day, remember that these are like computers. So what you feed it is what you use it. So if you give it all this information, then yeah, it's most likely that it's going to be able to use it for training. But the only way you can know if that's not the case is by understanding the privacy policy of this platform that you're using. It's hard, but if it's important to you, read through the documents. That will give you a better understanding of how to avoid that. Otherwise, beyond that, there's not much you can do, because if you use a platform that is then using your information and processing this data for other purposes and training, and you do not know about it, and you did not read the privacy policy, then you're at their mercy. But if you did, then you can be aware of it before you even get to use the tool. That's what I would recommend.
Okay. Eugene, you have any 2 cents to give on that?
On the importance of privacy or the concern around, sorry, I just came back in, we lost power. So I just restarted the thing. On the concerns of privacy regarding the usage of all these tools. Yeah,
Yeah,
is that
sure. Yeah.
I I think you may do your best to hide away from it, but how these things do the most, or how they are able to progress, is if they are able to get and utilize the tools, the data that you input. So I think you may just want to be aware that that's always going to be the case. If you do not want that to be the case, then I think I feel like even with their privacy policies and whatnot, they still go ahead to pull some of that information. I saw that yesterday, Photoshop has now also started, like the Adobe suite has now said, whether you like it or not, within the privacy things, we will be using your images. So just know that by using our tool, we shall use your images. And it's embedded deep inside the fine print and whatnot. So I think these guys know that the way their tools become better is if they learn from the inputs that you're putting in. But also, I think it's a win-win. I don't know how you expect to use this tool and hope for it to get better, but not give it anything to work with. So I think there's also that need to be realistic, that if you're choosing to go down the tech path, that these guys learn from the tools, from the information that you give them, and just be aware that that's an ever-present thing. Yeah, that's what I would add.
Okay, thank you so much, Eugene, for that. As we wait to see if there's anyone else that has any other question, I think we had also wanted to hear your perspective on the issue of over-reliance on AI tools for, people, either entrepreneurs or employees that are in roles that require critical thinking and strategic decisions. At what point do they get to draw the line between over-reliance and using these tools as a support item?
That's an interesting one, because the question of over-reliance is always determined by the user. And I'm not sure that there's a standardized, I think in academia, for example, right now, previously they were saying you're not allowed to, use any of these AI tools, but now all they're asking you to do is declare that you have used them. And academia, I believe, is one of those that require stringent thoughts, thinking abilities and applying yourself and etc. But it would be like saying, please make sure that you submit your coursework in type. So go find a typewriter and make sure that you type out your coursework. We do not want to see something done in Word. I think that with how fast we are moving, it may not be in your best interest unless of course you have that as a unique selling value, that I shall take long, but you can be sure that none of my efforts will have used artificial intelligence. I think you can do that. I mean, there's hotels that sell themselves that way, as being boutique hotels, no Wi-Fi, and it can be a thing that you use as a marketing stunt. But that also just means that your scale will always be limited. You just need to know that you're not going to scale that fast, or you're not going to do work that quickly. So the idea that you're over-reliant, I cannot judge from the outside. I think that's a personal choice. And also, if you do feel like you are over-relying, then the question becomes, what are your alternatives? So critical thinking perhaps requires you to expose yourself to multiple philosophies and different readers and how people interpret those things. Awesome. But imagine you could get all of that in a page.
Okay, thank you so much, Eugene, and thank you very much, Collins. I think that's really, really insightful. We really do appreciate your time and also being generous enough to share your knowledge regarding the topic with us. I hope this has been a helpful one to all the participants that are on here. If there are no further questions, I think we shall move on. If you look at your screen right now, I have launched a poll. These polls help us to get your feedback so that we can continue to curate information or content that is relevant for your needs as, a young talent workforce that is getting ready to move into the workplace, either in employment or entrepreneurship, depending on the career path that you've chosen. So kindly go ahead and take a few minutes of your time, or even less than a minute, to just give us that feedback. Would really, really appreciate it. Right after that, I'm going to request those who can to please turn their videos on, as we're going to take a virtual group photo while our facilitators are still on the call. I know that some of them have other meetings to run to, so would like to spend as little time as we can on this. So as we do that, please turn your cameras on. For those who can, would love to see your faces, and thank you so much for joining us today. Our link has been shared on the chat for the WhatsApp community, where you can get to join the Career Essentials community and get to know the different events that we'll be having, our physical sessions that we're going to have in a few weeks to come, and any other information that you need to know. We'll also go ahead to share the recording of this session for those who have not been able to attend, or those who would like to go through it once again. So be rest assured that we're going to share that. So thank you so much. Still waiting for some more faces. I'm only seeing a few cameras on. Okay, and then we will take a photo so that we can let our facilitators go. Okay, just a second. All right, I think we are good to go. Some smiles, please. All right, thank you so much. I think that will be it. Feel free to depart at will. Thank you so much, Collins, once again, and Eugene, for your very insightful remarks and knowledge. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon and see you guys all next week. Bye.
Bye.